Sodium on a carnivore diet. Let's talk about what's right for us. Hey, what's shaking bacon? My name is Bruno Panucci. I hope you're doing well. So it's been a while since my last video, which I've been saying a lot in my last few videos. So either way, I want to get into the topic for today. I just want you to know that I do plan on being more regular with my videos. It's just I'm going to have to start shooting them in batches so that I have time to edit them and get them out. I'm going to keep on shooting for about 2 a week. So let's get up to 2 a week first and see how we do from there. Anyway, when it comes to sodium in a carnivore diet, everyone has different viewpoints, and the people that I tend to listen to more than all what I consider to be distractions out there. I don't care what somebody's medical training is. I don't care what somebody's nutritional training is, because we don't have any hard science done on a carnivore diet. There's lots of studies that have been done on sodium levels and what we need in a diet, maybe towards even a ketogenic diet. But a carnivore diet that is zero carb, I think what happens is our sodium levels need to be different, as well as our hydration levels. So we got to keep in mind there's not much science on what we're doing. And what we have to rely on is people who have been down this road before us. Now, there's been a lot of people who have adopted this way of eating in the last several years, since about 2017, 2018 or so, maybe even 2020. But there's very few people have been doing this for close to 20 years. And Kelly Hogan, who's been doing it for 14 years, and keep in mind, she was zero carb for 5 years before she ever became a carnivore. One of the people she met when she became a zero carb carnivore guru, or not guru, but a person who adopted that way of eating, was Dana Spencer. And Dana posted something on Instagram a short while ago. So before I get into this, Dana's a real straight shooter. She finds what works for her, and she's pretty rigid, it seems, that what works for her will work for most everybody. And that may very well be true. That was really the attitude, from what I can gather, with the original zero carb people back when this was a website, before it was ever a Facebook group or anything like that, the Zeroing In on Health, that really started all this. Now, when people were doing that, keep in mind, they were eating just red meat. Lots of them weren't even having salt added to their meat. It was just red meat. So they were trying to have fatty cuts. They were sticking at around 80% fat or so, and they found that brought them optimal health. They were typically sticking to steaks, as far as I could tell, before it was like ground beef or any other meats. And lots of these people were journaling their results as they were going through this, and there were some gurus already in the time in the group, like Charles Washington and some other people like Dana Spencer, who were really working towards finding out what worked best and what didn't. And one of the things that was a topic of conversation was sodium. And I've learned, as I've been doing carnivore, a few things that really resonated with me when I read Dana Spencer's post on this. She goes by Zero Carb Dana, or ZC or ZC Dana, Dana. So that's her Instagram handle. Now, I really feel Kelly Hogan is a real mentor to me. I identify a lot with how she does carnivore. She's flexible. She realizes there's no right or wrong. Some people require some slightly different alterations to the way they do carnivore, but Dana Spencer's been very much a proponent of red meat, no added salt, because keep in mind, you do get enough salt in red meat. And I've learned this to be true myself. There's been times where I've cut back on sodium because really I was requiring a large amount of sodium. And I found that it worked better for me, and I got more in tune with my hunger signals when I cut back drastically on sodium. There is enough sodium in red meat, and she gets into this in what she states. And I found the less I drink on a carnivore diet, by that I mean water, the better I feel. And I've learned in the last year or so, probably about 9 months, that if I have about 1.5 liters of water a day, I'm doing pretty good. I feel great, and I don't get any leg cramps. Whenever I do get leg cramps, it's because I've had too much water. By that, it could be up to, say, 3 liters in a day, or more importantly, too much all at once. I find alcohol, if I ever try and have any alcohol, it can bring on leg cramps. And if I ever drink too much at once, like just say I'm working out and I drink like 1 liter inside of a 5 or 10 minute window, I'll get leg cramps for a couple days. So yeah, I found hydration plays a factor in leg cramps. and the way I feel. The amount of sodium I get plays a factor in how I feel, as well as how I sleep. Now, keep in mind, salt is just one mineral out there. Red meat offers a diverse amount of minerals, and we want to make sure that we're sticking as close to a ultra clean diet as possible when doing a carnivore diet. If you find you're still dealing with issues, you might have to eliminate more, get down to the basics, and slowly reintroduce different things. And one of the things you can do on top of introducing a variety of meats is cut back on your salt as well. Let your body balance and regulate itself, and then move forward. If you're just starting a carnivore diet, you may find that you don't want to overcomplicate it. Maybe you want to keep salt in there because it makes the food more palatable. But really what you want to do is keep in mind when Dr. Barry says, go crazy with the salt, have as much salt as you want. There's nothing wrong with that, I guess, if it works for you. But you may not need that. And quite frankly, Dana Spencer and Kelly Hogan have a lot more experience with this than Dr. Barry or even Dr. Sean Baker do. So, I mean, these are original zero-carb carnivores out there before it was even known as carnivore. So there's got to be a certain amount of respect and weight given to what they've noticed, which they've tried. It's time tested and true, and what some of these people got the best results with. Though I think it's important to play around and find out what works best for you. Dana feels like she's really got her finger on the pulse, and she knows what's best for you based on her own experience and what she's seen with lots of other people. So let's get into what she was talking about. You don't need more salt, you actually need less, because meat has plenty of sodium. It's one thing to use it to make your meat taste better, in brackets, which is not a good thing because you eat more than you need, end bracket, but also adding it because you believe you need more sodium because you're on an all-meat diet is a faulty logic. When I stopped eating carbohydrates 16 years ago, I discovered a level of health and freedom I never imagined, and I've experienced that too with carnivore. When I stopped adding salt to my meat, I reached a whole new level of health and freedom. So a 16-year carnivore who easily has twice as much experience as most of the other highly recognized carnivores out there with medical degrees is stating this, and she's learned the hard way why this is beneficial for her. So getting muscle cramps when starting a carnivore diet is normal. It's part of the adaptation and goes away on its own as long as you don't start trying to fix it. Trying to fix it just keeps your sodium levels unbalanced. After 14 years of not adding salt, I do occasionally get muscle cramps. Every time it was because I consumed something salty or I drank too much water. I've noticed the same. And I've learned what amount of water works for me. Now, if I'm doing a regular carnivore diet, I find, like say I have some chicken or pork in there, my mineral and water, my hydration intake needs to adapt to that. But if I'm having just red meat and I'm doing just a lion diet, then I'm getting enough sodium and I don't need as much water. I've noticed the exact same things as Dana has noticed long before I ever read this article, which I just read just a couple days ago. A high-fat diet means you need less water. The more fat you eat, the less water you need. You don't need as much water on an all-meat diet. Many of you are drinking too much water, and this is why you continue to get cramps. Adding salt to your water just makes the cramping issue even worse. So lots of people who are still dealing with cramps on a carnivore diet, even though they maybe adjusted their water, maybe haven't adjusted it enough. Maybe they need to go down to even less. I was always a believer, and I still believe this, that dark urine means you're dehydrated. Clear urine means you're overhydrated. You're flushing your minerals out, and salt is one of those minerals. So you want your urine to be more like a lemonade, not apple juice in color. But I find I do best when it's a darker lemonade. When it's a clearer lemonade, that's when I'm going to be more prone to getting leg cramps. So keep this in mind with your hydration levels and your sodium levels. If you're sticking to just red meat, it simplifies things for you. You're just having red meat and fat. That's your protein, that's your fats, zero carbs. And you find that doing that, you don't need to add any salt. Salt does make the food more palatable. You eat more. And what's interesting is it's tough getting a lot of food when you're not adding salt to it because you're just more satiated with what you're eating. So when I cook burger patties, as an example, I don't eat as many burger patties in a day when I don't salt the meat. So it's a way to help regulate my hunger because when I do salt that meat, I can easily have 4 or 5 pounds of red meat in a day. So I'm a big guy. I'm over 300 pounds. And if I'm weight training, I can easily have that 5 to 6 pounds of meat in a day. If I'm not weight training, I can comfortably have 3 or 4. And I was losing weight when I was eating that much. So I don't want anyone out there to start getting judgmental about how you should or shouldn't be adding salt. Salt's important to have. Dana's acknowledging this and recognizing what you're saying. And lots of people come from the camp of Dr. Barry, and Dr. Barry really promotes having all the sodium you want on a carnivore diet. And Dana, with more experience, and no one can argue science behind this because there is no science behind this, on a zero carb diet, how much sodium your body requires. And you may find when you cut back, you may do better. Your leg cramps may do better. Your energy levels may do better because you're getting what you need versus more than what you need. And sometimes more than what you need isn't always a good thing in life. So Dana goes on to express benefits of less salt, better skin, better hair, less urination, less thirst, no BO, no joint pain, no water retention, no puffy eye bags, no muscle cramps and twitches, and more than I can't think of right now. So I commented on that, and I said I've noticed the same thing after doing carnivore for a number of years strictly, and I was on and off of it for years before that. I've noticed I need less salt in my diet. I do better on less salt, and I also do better on less water. I want to pass this information along to you because some people may resist this. They're going to think, no, you need more sodium. Maybe not, because we want to have a balance between our minerals. And if you're adding a lot of sodium, but you're not doing the equivalent with lots of these other minerals like zinc, like iodine, like potassium, like magnesium, as well as a plethora of other minerals, your balance is out with your minerals, and we want to make sure you're balanced with your minerals. So everything is balanced when we get it through eating just red meat. So if you have more meats incorporated into your carnivore diet, your situation might be a little different. So long and short of it was I agreed with Dana. She commented on how she agreed with me and how it really affects your appetite. And that's one of the big things that is throwing you off with a carnivore diet, because typically I think when you start a carnivore diet, you should eat what you find to be a comfortable amount of food in a day so that you're satiated. But you're throwing your hunger signals off if you're adding a lot of salt to that, or even some salt to that. It's hard to get in tune with your hunger signals when you have something like sodium, which is making the food more palatable, and you're eating more than you need. So you want to make sure you eat enough, but you want to make sure you're not eating way too much. So I want you to keep this in mind. So I hope this World Carnivore Month is going well for you. I hope you're being as strict as you possibly can to your comfort level. And if you have any questions or comments, please reach out. Thanks a lot and take care.